business. I'm doing this job. I'm doing the mommy stuff, mompreneur, church service, right? All of these things. And the imposter syndrome for me comes in because you surround yourself with people that you want to be like, right? You want to be successful. You want to have it together. You also follow influencers who seem to have it together, right? So then you are very highly critical of yourself. And I was telling my girlfriend on the way here, actually, that I told you that I was nervous. And I wasn't nervous until I watched the caliber of people you've had on this podcast. Aww. And I was like, what do I have of value that would compare to some of the people you interviewed here? And I was like, oh my gosh.
All right, welcome back to Hawaii Real, everybody. I'm your host, Ioke Ehu, and I'd like to send a shout out to our refreshment sponsor from Hawaiian Springs Water. Thank you so much for supplying myself and my wonderful guest with the water we have today. I love this water because and my son loves it too. pH 7.7 alkaline. It's good stuff, and it's healthy stuff.
Good memories, this water to me.
Good memories?
Yeah, this is the one they give on Hawaiian Airlines back in the day. And when I was domestic partner with my girlfriend, Olalo, she gave me the big one, after you had a couple drinks. That's the one you took off the plane.
So I have with me here Kahala Pratt.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good.
Classmates from 96, Imua. Thank you so much for coming on, taking time out of your day to come out here.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, you're like, get me out of the house.
Anything when you have a 2-year-old getting out of the house is amazing.
Yeah. And I also like to send a shout out and thank you to the Garcia House. And what they're doing these days is making kaimuki soap. Making a soap, and it's got, I don't know, Kahala, can you read that off?
Which one? It smells amazing.
It does. So this red one is like a tobacco one, which I loved the most. I was like, oh dude, I would love to smell like this.
Tobacco bay leaf.
Yeah. And then the charcoal mint.
Yep, that one is good for your face also.
Right, it exfoliates. It's delicious.
Right, especially if you have oily skin.
Right, and it looks, it's black, but it smells so deliciously minty. And then the lavender one.
Lavender.
Yeah. Anyway, shout out to
I'm like, that one's not on here. You set me up. Lavender.
Oh, and the shampoo?
Yes, coconut, aloe, avocado
shampoo, soap bar.
You ever see that YouTube, the guacamole lady? No? Oh my gosh, you gotta look it up. She's like, guacamole. It's the best.
All right.
Avocado's awesome.
That's gonna be your new catchphrase.
Avocado is awesome.
But hit them up, Kaimuki Soap Co. Kaimuki Soap Co.
It's a sticker?
Well, it's a small business that's coming up and out here in Kaimuki, and that's kind of part of where you're coming from also, right? A lot of your background has to do with helping small businesses become bigger businesses.
Yes, of course. Like, that's my main passion, is helping local businesses. And it's so exciting to me to be able to support local, to find new products, to encourage people to shop local, because that, sometimes we rather save money.
Yeah, get the cheap stuff. Comes from the mainland or Walmart. Yeah. It's like, hey, help support local, especially during, the pandemic and the lockdowns and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. I'm also one of those people who will just find somebody on Facebook who sells something at home, and I want to try it. So I'll be that person who tries, and then I'll tell everybody about it. Try this pastry. I'll buy pastries off Facebook Marketplace. Seems kind of sketch, but
it works.
Yeah, I've eaten a lot of pastries off Facebook Marketplace.
What's your favorite pastry from Facebook Market?
So there's this lady, her Instagram is Madeline's Kitchen, Mads, MADZ Kitchen, and they're like those snow puff pastries,
dangerous,
with the powder sugar and the chocolate
super
drizzle
dangerous.
And the cream inside. My favorite one is ube. She makes an ube one. My kids love the Fruity Pebbles one. So I'm just saying, there's a whole bunch out there.
Yeah.
But that's one of my current addictions. Like I buy them by 5 dozens.
What?
Yeah. And they're bite size.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're just popping them, popping them.
Pop them.
Right. But that's also helping to support local businesses.
Yeah. I mean, she's doing this from home with children at home. She's baking, taking orders, and she runs them out herself in her apron. Like, it's awesome. It's awesome because at this time, like, we need to do as much as we can to stay here, right?
Right.
And so if I can support her, that's something I want to do.
So you run your own consulting business?
I do. It's called The Directive.
Tell me more.
Well, I guess my background is in management, from anything from restaurant and retail to medical, marketing, all of it. And I know I get a lot of, they're all over the place. What genre do you work in? What do you like to do? And I'm like, I like to make money.
Nice.
And I like to help other people make money.
Even better.
So technically I have a degree in art. Fine art.
Why are you laughing for? That's good stuff.
Well, you know, it was a degree.
I mean, there's a lot of military personnel, generals, officers that have degrees in art.
Yeah, so I have a degree in art, but I fell into management. It came natural, partially because I'm the oldest of 5. So you're just used to creating systems and bossing people around, right? And so I fell into management very easily, and I stayed in that realm. And I enjoy bringing people from red to black.
From red to black.
Yeah, if we can make money, then we did it right. I'm also really out of the box. So most people who work with me realize that very quickly.
And you're also a Gemini.
I'm also a Gemini.
Outside the box, Gemini. So you're coming at it with multiple angles of attack, multiple points of view.
Neon lights.
What?
Color palettes. Like, I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
But there is like some method to the madness.
Oh.
Yeah. I do have a method, but I love it.
Can you break your method down at all for us in like a few sentences?
Yeah.
As like a passion?
Self-awareness plus guidance equals success.
Okay.
Sometimes as businesses, we are so caught up in the idea of what we are trying to do and what we want to provide as a product that we overlook our biggest flaws, where things could be tweaked or fixed very easily. And because of that, we're not as successful. And, you know, if you're not coachable, taking the guidance, that also hurts you in the long run. You have a lot of people who start small businesses and they want to do everything themselves because if I do everything myself, I'm going to save money.
Right. And you have control.
Right. And I have control. I can be really tight on it. But the reality is that doesn't work. It's the exact opposite needs to happen. Figure out what it is you're good at and hire someone to do all the rest. Because if you're the face of your company, you need to be outselling. Not doing numbers and accounting, right? Because you can double your numbers and sales because it's your face. You're wasting time trying to figure out how to do accounting.
Now, in your experience, is that more of the person's fears of bringing on other people and trusting them?
Of course. It's desperate. Typically, it's desperate because we're in the red. So why am I going to budget to spend more when I know I can do it because I've done it, but you're not optimizing the talents of everybody else on your team.
Right. And then you also, I'm guessing that time is money.
Oh yeah, time is money.
Plays a huge part in that too.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing your own accounting and you're not hiring somebody to do that, that means that's that much less, that many less hours that you're actually promoting and selling.
Yeah, 100%. So it's not like rocket science. But when fear creeps in, risk taking gets put away. And so growth is slower.
So how do you go about coaching people to get over that fear?
Typically, I have to work in the setup, the brick and mortar, whatever it is, and build trust. Because once you and I build a relationship of trust, and you know, oh, she's not going to let me down. What she's saying is working. And then the employees, your employees, see that I'll work with you side by side. I'll fold t-shirts, right? I'll make salads, whatever it is. Then they're like, oh, they become coachable and willing. And then I can train someone to do what I'm doing and walk away.
So you're looking at it outside the box. You're also getting involved and getting your hands dirty and figuring out their process and how to streamline it.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like it. But how do you even get to that part? Is it because you have so much experience in a wide variety of industries?
I'm going to say it's emotional intelligence, honestly.
Oh.
Really reading people, really understanding what their fears are. I have severe self-awareness to a fault.
What does that mean?
Like I know all my faults.
Okay.
And I don't have an issue owning up to them.
Right.
They are what they are. I am who I am. I wasn't always that way, you know. Over 40, you change your ways.
Is that a strength of yours, do you think? Or do you look at it as a...
No, I think it is. I think it is because I can make adjustments based on the fact that I'm self-aware. If I didn't know what my issue is, how do you make adjustments when someone gives you a suggestion?
Right.
You'd be like, I don't have that issue.
Yeah. No, that's a great topic to touch on. Yeah. Self-awareness. So you said you didn't always have that.
Yeah.
How did you build that? Or when did that light come on for you?
I don't know. You know, it just like, I don't know. Sometimes, some time ago, maybe in college or in my first marriage, you start to realize like, oh, that was a mistake. Oh, I did that. I could have done that a little better. But I'm not going to admit that to anybody. I'm definitely not going to admit that to my parents, right? Like, I'm just like, that's not happening.
Sure.
But I remember at one point, my dad and I were very close. And I remember telling him, Dad, I'm wasting your money in college.
Oh.
And he's like, what? And granted, I had most of my college paid for. I was on scholarship through our church. They paid for everything except for housing. So my father only paid for housing and food. But I remember one year telling him, I'm wasting your money. I'm going to take a break. And he looked at me like, what?
And you went to college right after high school?
Yeah, straight, right? We graduated in May 96. I was still 17.
Me too.
And then started in August. I had just turned 18 because I'm a June baby. So I just turned 18 and August 20-something, 1996, I started my first year of college. I went for 2 years. 2.5 years, and then I left. And I took a 5-year break.
Did you go back and finish, or you just started doing other stuff?
I went back eventually after the 5-year break. Within that time, I moved to the mainland. I served a mission for our church. I got married, moved to Big Island, started a management life career there. Probably was the first time, and then decided. It's time to go back to school. I need to finish. So I went back and I graduated in 2004.
How did your dad take it when you told him that you were wasting his money?
He took it really well, you know. It's funny. Like I said, we have a really good relationship. So I think he also knew that I knew myself well enough to be like, I'm done. And he was like, are you going to go back? I'm like, yeah, eventually. And actually I went back and I told my dad, okay, I'm ready to go back. At this point, I now was married and I got commitment scholarship to go back to school. So again, I'm getting paid to go to school, right? And I told my dad, I think I should change my major. And he's like, to what? And I said, I want to do math.
Interesting. What was it initially?
Art.
Oh, okay.
Because I wanted to be an interior designer. So I went for art.
Okay.
And anyways, that's a whole nother story in itself. And so I told my dad, I'm going to change my major. And he's like, why? I go, because I think it's more respectable and I'll get a better job. And he goes, just get out. It could be in basket weaving.
Like just get the degree.
Just get the degree and get out. because, and this has been my philosophy, is nobody cares what your degree is in. Unless you're going to be a doctor, an attorney, you know, like where you need that extra schooling, but nobody cares. They want to know that you can finish, that you can jump through hoops, that you can accomplish assignments. Check, 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 right?
Right.
So I got my degree in art.
Like that's a big debate that I've had in the past with other people about college degrees. You know, people say, oh, it's not worth a whole lot, or it's not worth this, or some people say it's worth a whole lot. But like you said, it comes down to, hey, you started something, you started your project, which is go through college, and you did all the requirements and you finished it. That's what the degree really shows, is that you're a finisher.
Yeah.
You started something, no matter if it took me 5 years, no matter how long it takes you, like you finish and you end up finishing. And a lot of people don't end up finishing college or don't even go on to college.
Yeah.
But I mean, the same thing goes with trade schools. You know, it's not just about the piece of paper or the education that you get. It's about motivating yourself to do all the classwork and all the tests and all that studying to finish and get the degree.
To be a self-starter.
Yeah.
To not need a manager to go to school.
Right.
You know, and as a manager and in the HR area, I looked at that. I didn't really care if you had a degree. I cared to see if you finished.
Yeah.
I didn't care where you went, why you went there, what it's in. Like that's irrelevant to me. I wanted to know that you're personable, let's say in the retail or restaurant, right? You need to be personable. You need to be able to take orders, understand systems, all of these things. You need to be quick on your toes. In other places, like when I worked at the spine center, my employees needed to be detail oriented. A degree doesn't tell me if you are.
No.
So it's one of those things where I think my dad was on the same page. He has an entrepreneurial spirit. He is an attorney, so he did the other route. But he always says, if I had known differently when I was younger, I might have done something different, because all of his children are entrepreneurial, especially us girls, all three girls.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So it's interesting that I have a father who really supports that. He's like, okay, go ahead. But you know, once you get married,
things change.
You're cut off.
Oh, there's that part too.
Yeah. So you do it on your own. But yeah, so I went back, I finished 2004 and I have a degree in art, but at that point I was already in all kinds of management things. And I stayed there.
Nice. Do you regret any of your decisions on stopping school and taking a break or anything like that?
No, I don't think I would have done it differently. I have the kind of personality that when I feel like I've reached my limit, I literally am just done, and I can turn around and walk away. And that's how I felt about school at the time. And so it worked out, and I had 2 years to serve and really just give to others. I got married. We moved to the Big Island, and then I started working for Dolphin Quest, managing there and consulting. And that's how I got a love of consulting. No one is successful without a good community to back them.
True.
And so in my current business, my network business with Isagenix and the Little Brown Box, my team, like without our community, we wouldn't be where we're at. We are like the #1 growing team in Isagenix, and they've been around for 19 years. So it's been really amazing. We have people from all over the world. It's a global company who call us and ask for trainings from our leaders and want to know what is it that we're doing. And we're not doing anything different than anybody else is doing, except we focus on each other and community. And I think a lot of that has to do with our culture.
That's a lot of leadership right there too.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're taking care of each other.
Yeah. But I think that transcends into any business, right? Like you don't want to go to work where you feel like crap, or where people put you down.
No, you don't. But it does happen quite often, right?
But you go because you need the paycheck.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're a prisoner of that versus part of a family.
Right.
And I think that is hard for small business owners to remember, to not micromanage, to, lessen the grip, and to create an environment that appreciates creativity and diversity and trial and error. Like small business, you have to try and fail. Like we learn so much more in our failures. And so if you have a community that thrives and that supports that, you can be successful.
Yeah,
and so I think that's really important.
I heard a great quote. Trial and error is just a trial and error, or failure is just an experimentation.
Yeah.
And you're just experimenting, and you're going to fail. But through those experiments and failures, you learn how to succeed.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. My family, my mother and I had a home decor shop, and it was at the height 9/11.
Oh.
And everything just went to crap, and it was right in Kapolei near Ko'olina was just blowing up, and we thought, oh, we're going to be high end for all those people in Ko'olina. Well, we ended up ending our lease a year early. We just couldn't make it. We couldn't keep it going. We couldn't, the base rent plus the percent rent plus the maintenance fees and the CAM, like all of it just eventually swallowed us whole. But I have conversations with my father all the time. I learned amazing business strategies, what to not do the next time. And I'm just waiting for the next opportunity to open another home decor shop.
Nice.
But this time, I want investors, right? I don't want to do it on our credit card. I want better systems. I want more people and not me doing everything. So you learn a lot of lessons through failure. And we created a lot of relationships. But I think that's where the love of supporting local started, was back at that time, 2005, right after 9/11. Now is when we ended up closing. Yeah, so we didn't last.
So when you guys ended up closing, was it because you were making those mistakes with like not getting a team together and not delegating the work and trusting other people to do the work? Or
so I won't name the company that managed our property, but they were not flexible.
I see.
And so our base rent was like $6,000 a month.
Wow.
And for like 1,300 square feet. And because we supported local, 80% of our artisans were local. And so because of that, they were on consignment. So if we didn't sell something, we didn't make money. If we didn't make money, it couldn't pay employees. It couldn't pay. So I made the mistake of just trying to micromanage everything. And my mother and I did everything. We were working every day, Sunday through Monday. We were everything. We did everything. I did the finances. I did the buying. I did the trips to go and do the purchases, when I really should have been selling. I should have been out there making connections with other businesses to use our stuff. We made beautiful gift baskets with all the local stuff that people could have given, brokers, real estate agents, whatever it may be. Like we did all of those kind of things. But we were 2 steps behind our bills and our debt. And so we shut down, and I moved all the inventory into Hawaii self-storage. And at the time, there weren't really some rules about doing business out of the storage units. Right. Yeah. Do you remember this? It started popping up in the news.
People kind of still are a little bit.
Yeah. So I got a drive-up unit, 2 of them. My husband at the time finished the floors to make it look like a store.
Nice.
We built a faux wall and a door, and we just funneled everyone from our store to the storage unit and letting them know that what we had was what we had, and when it was gone, it was gone. It ended up being there for almost 2 years. I ended up continuing to purchase product.
Oh, okay. Not because it took you a long time to sell everything, but because you actually were so successful.
Right.
It kept it going.
Right. So the out of the box thinking starts from there. Right. And so at the time, we were the only retailer marketing mainland Texas candle. So I had military people come into my freaking storage to buy this specific candle. So we did that for a long time.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a good adjustment.
It was. And, we practiced some of the things that we learned, and then we said goodbye.
So you finally ended up closing that down.
Yeah.
Right. So what was the big takeaway from that?
From that experience?
The whole experience.
The whole experience. that it wasn't all on our shoulders. It just was what it was. And we needed to pivot, and it was okay. There was things that couldn't be controlled. And with the focus of where we wanted to go, it just had to be that way. We had the opportunity to actually move into that Ko'olina gift shop area. What is that? Where Monkey Pod is?
Oh, yeah, by the hotels.
Is that what it's called? Monkey Pod? I think, whatever, the restaurant. Yeah, so there is a store there, a home decor store there that was supposed to be for us, but our people wouldn't let us out of our lease.
Ouch.
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough. And they're thriving there now because now all these extra hotels are out there, and it's
Aulani's there now.
Yeah, Aulani's there now. So it's been great, and it's sad. And we loved doing it. We met a lot of artisans that way. And some of the artisans, we were their first people to share their art. Woodwork and canvas and metalwork and soaps. You know,
you're really, truly helping local.
We really tried. That was really important to my mother. And it was my mother's store. But the caveat was that I had to run it. Otherwise, my dad would not buy it for her. So that's kind of what happened. But, you know, we did what we could. But that was probably the biggest lesson learned is it's okay. And to pivot. Just learn to pivot. Be resilient.
Is that like a big piece of advice? Or is there another big piece of advice you would give to someone that is looking at what happened with you guys in that particular store and what they should or should not do going forward with their own project, their own passion?
Yeah, I think that would be a really good chunk of the advice would be to not go with the flow. Like, we all have systems and we all have ideas of how we want things to work. But when it doesn't go that way, do you just shut down? Right? Like, that doesn't happen. Like, there's no room for that.
Yeah.
You have to just, gather yourself and pivot, turn a couple degrees a different way, to think outside of the box, try something new, be willing to fail. And that's, willing is one of those things. We talked about this earlier, willing, coachable, hungry. If you don't have all three of those, you're going to fall short.
Right. Do you listen to Simon Sinek? He's on a lot of YouTube and TikTok videos. Leadership.
I've seen some of his stuff.
So he wrote a book, The Infinite Game, and part of his thing with businesses is the infinite and finite game. So a finite game has rules, has a time. Football game, baseball game, they have rules, and there's a set time limit when you got to complete it. Infinite game doesn't have the rules. The only rule for an infinite game is to stay in it as long as possible.
Right.
Marriage, business, those are infinite games. There are no real set rules other than continue it as long as you can.
Right.
So with that, is there any connection to that with the infinite game with small businesses that you've held or you've helped start up?
Yes.
And as far as them getting to continue their business as long as possible.
Right. Yes. Okay. So I'll give you an example with my own, right? Network marketing. People jump into network marketing because the compensation plan looks amazing and it looks like a get rich quick scheme, right? But really what it is a get free quick scheme.
Ooh, which is even better sometimes.
Right. So network marketing, you have your millionaires and you have your people who just their monthly products are paid for, right? You have the whole gambit. But it depends individually on what do you need to be free.
So you define what is free defined
right
to you?
Now, let's say I go 9 to 5 to make $3,000 a month to live. Let's say, okay, 40 hours a week. What I need to be free is $3,000. Now I don't have to go to that 9 to 5. So it's the same concept, right? Is what can we do to help you be free? And your free might be 10 grand, 20 grand. You have 2 kids at Punahou, yes?
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's up there.
Yeah. Right.
But it's so what you're saying is it's free to do what you want to do.
Right. Because then now you can do what you want.
Right. And having this kind of residual or any kind of income coming in that allows you, hey, at this dollar amount, I can do whatever I want.
But that mindset is long haul. right? Because if I'm only thinking I need to be a trillionaire,
Yes.
I need to be a trillionaire. I need to be a trillionaire. What do I have to do? I'm going to work really hard, do all this stuff. But if I'm just thinking this month, I need this.
Yes.
Next month, I need this.
Yes.
By the end of the year, I need this. Not only did I become free, I also have my time, which is so valuable. Like, I can't get that back. And I'm sorry, $30 an hour.
That doesn't cut it here
At
in
this
Hawaii.
point in my life, I'm
Yeah.
like, you better be paying me 150, 250, 300, right? Because I'm going to be away from home. And most places aren't out of the box. And I think one of your podcasts talked about this, how whatever amount of time you give me to do a project, I'm going to take that amount of time.
Yeah.
Was
So
it with
if I
Mike?
give you 3 hours,
Yeah.
it's going to be 3 hours.
It's gonna
If I
be
give you
3 hours,
weeks,
right.
it's going to be 3 weeks.
And that's standard, right? My thought process is if you finish this project, you'll get paid this. Guess what? Everyone's going to do more faster. It's just the nature of it. Oh, no matter what I do, however long it takes, I'm going to get paid the same. I'm going to do it quick so I can get out of here.
Right. There's big incentive right there for you to work quicker.
But that's not the norm.
No, especially not here in Hawaii. When I think Hawaii is one of the has one of the highest populations of government workers in any state.
Yeah.
Which we're all paid, and myself included, paid by the hour.
Right.
So it doesn't matter how hard we work or how fast we work. We only get paid by the hour.
Right.
So
it's not really about quality. It's about quantity.
No.
But yeah, so that would be what I would say is important.
But I like that whole philosophy of staying in for the long haul.
Yeah.
Some businesses try to get successful too quick and not be patient and not, like you said, go through the right steps and find the right connections and the right people to help that business flourish.
Right. I've worked with businesses who've been around for 35 years plus, and they're very successful in a different way, in a heyday, I guess you would call it. And now they have to reinvent themselves, right? They have to have social media influence. They have to have different kind of sales points. They have to have different appeal to a different generation, right? But because they had notoriety, the idea of adjusting from the way I've been doing it for 35 years.
We can't do that.
Right. You're like, what? You want me to do what? No, this is the way I do it. This is the system I've set up. This is the way I want it done. I'm like, literally all we have to do is raise your ticket $2, right? $5, whatever it is. That's such a small number, but you're refusing to adjust the way you sell, adjust the way you interact with your customers because it's uncomfortable.
And we saw a lot of that during the lockdowns and the shutdowns.
Yes.
Where businesses, some adapted and thrived, and others didn't do anything and failed and closed their doors.
Right. And it's sad. Our family, my husband's family owns Kamehameha Bakery. And
I love their glazed donuts. The best glazed donuts ever.
custard Danish is my favorite. But we always have banana bread in our house from them. But you see like places like Kaneohe Bakery closed. Kamehameha Bakery is still open right now, but everything's hard.
Yeah.
But if we don't adjust, right? If we don't say, okay, we need to cut hours, but you can make up your hours if you can add to your skills. Can you do this?
Yeah.
Can you do our social marketing now, right? Somebody could do that. I'm not saying anything about if they did it or didn't, but I'm just saying we can adjust and add skills to our plate and be more valuable.
Yeah. It's like the Marines. They say improvise, adapt, overcome, right?
Oh, is that what they say?
Oh, yeah. That's like their gung-ho thing right there. Improvise, adapt, overcome.
Well, that's a good one.
Because when, their whole thing is you can plan a mission all you want, but as soon as, the mission starts and the first shots get fired, the whole planning thing goes out the window. So you have to improvise, adapt, and overcome. So and that translates directly into business and continuing your business through all these hard, challenging times, whether it's challenging times for society or challenging times for the business itself.
Right. No, it's good. It's sad to see businesses in Hawaii close.
Yeah. heartbreaking to see like Leaky Drive-In.
Right. But it's wonderful to see budding people, just their businesses starting to flourish because you have people who support local, who repost and reshare and gift and collaborate. Like you see giveaways all the time with different women entrepreneurs, mompreneurs, right? Supporting each other. It's just amazing. All the artisans who have come out of the nooks and crannies and flourish.
Yeah, and really flourished because, you know, they're getting the support of the people here in Hawaii and the culture.
Right.
So it's been good. So before you came on, you were texting me yesterday that you were like super nervous about coming on the show. And I'm like, why? It's just talk story. It's just kind of a, you know, informal talk interview kind of thing. And you were like, one of the big things you said to me was like, you feel like an imposter. And that's like a big thing nowadays. And I've heard that from a number of people about how they feel this imposter syndrome and they don't feel like they're genuine or they're good enough or they should be doing what they're doing. They don't feel like they're the expert or, you know, whatever it is.
Right.
You know, what's your take on that? I know you brought that imposter syndrome and I'm trying to smash it down and be like, no, you're not an imposter. You're the real deal. Go.
Okay. So imposter syndrome has all different levels, right? Some is that you have to be perfect, right? That's definitely not mine. Some are that you have to do a million things well and with good, good follow through to be good. That's more where I fall. So I'm always planning something for my team. I'm doing this business. I'm doing this job. I'm doing the mommy stuff, mompreneur, church service, right? All of these things. And the imposter syndrome for me comes in because you surround yourself with people that you want to be like, right? You want to be successful. You want to have it together. You also follow influencers who seem to have it together, right? So then you are very highly critical of yourself. And I was telling my girlfriend on the way here, actually, that I told you that I was nervous. And I wasn't nervous until I watched the caliber of people you've had on this podcast. Aww. And I was like, what do I have of value that would compare to some of the people you interviewed here? And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know why he reached out. I don't know why they want to hear from me. And my girlfriend had to remind me, she was almost like my little Tony Robbins in my head, right? And she's like, he asked you, you are successful at what you do. Yeah. You are a good leader. Yep. You speak well. Like she was just listed all. I'm like, okay. She's your cheerleader. Yeah, she was my cheerleader. Awesome, and that goes back to having good community.
Shout out for your friend.
Yes, Kawai. Love you. And so that sometimes creeps in.
Sure.
And when it creeps in, if you don't have a cheerleader or a support system or people who feel non-judgmental in their critiques of you to make you better, then you can fade away.
Yeah, you can really fall into that hole.
Right, and you just spiral down.
And then nothing gets done. Like you don't do anything. You just stick with the norm.
It's paralyzed. You're paralyzed.
Yeah.
From not being able to do. So like the perfectionist, right? I have to study. I have to know. I have to be a professor, an expert at this before I could sell it, do it, teach it.
Right.
Right.
But you don't.
But then so you do nothing.
Right.
And so the goal is to instead be in messy action.
What is messy action?
Just let it be.
Oh,
it is what it is, right? Yeah. Because as you're messy, you're fumbling through, you're just getting it done, but you know what? You got it done. And next time you do it, it's going to be a little bit better.
Yeah.
Right? Like the noti on the teeth.
Oh, your Instagram post? You had noti in your teeth.
You think you're going to do this great Instagram post? I'm going to be like all the influencers. Look at this pretty orange wall. I'm going to take a picture in front of it. And then you look at the photo and you go, oh my God. So I thought that was going to turn out amazing, you know, but it's action. I tried. It shows that I'm human.
Yeah, it's real.
It's real. And that's the goal.
Yeah.
Especially if you're building a team is not for you to be set apart, but instead be with.
That's deep. Don't want to set yourself apart. Well, you don't want to be, there are few humans in the world that set themselves so far apart. The Elon Musks, the Steve Jobs, that set themselves completely apart. But the vast majority of people that do create success, they're not doing it on their own by themselves. They're doing it with a team,
right,
and a support system, support network, people that see the same value in them and the same passion.
Right. And sometimes it's not in the same business.
No, absolutely.
Your support team can be from like-minded,
yep,
but not same business.
Yep.
So that's kind of amazing.
Right. We actually talked off camera a little bit about when you're building your team, you don't want to work with someone that is just like you,
right,
or has the same strengths as
right.
you. You want to find someone that has strengths in your weaknesses.
Right. So it goes back to our earlier conversation of being self-aware. If you're not self-aware, how do you know what your weaknesses are? And then how do you fill that gap, fill that hole, right? So that you can be successful. And it's okay to rely on somebody to help fill that hole. And I think that sometimes that's where the disconnect is that some of us are taught and conditioned that you need to be amazing all by yourself.
Right.
Otherwise, you're not amazing.
Right. And it goes even further deeper. Like one of the analogies I brought up off camera was like a sports team. A football team. You have a great star quarterback, Tom Brady. Tom Brady doesn't do it by himself. He's a quarterback. He can't block to save his life.
I'm smiling because I'm like, do I know what
Any sport
position he plays?
Yeah. Well,
no, but I get the analogy, right?
right. He
We
needs
all
a
have
team
a
to do
role.
it. Right. He needs people who are strong at what he's weak at.
Right.
And vice versa. Other people need to have him to be strong where they're weak at.
Right.
So
And doesn't
it
the
all
team
comes together.
captain still participate? Like they don't just
Absolutely.
right? So
They're
I
doing
mean
their own job.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's the same. It transcends into business, family, all of it.
So people out there trying to get into and start their own business or have started their own business, make your team. Start picking,
Yeah.
doing a draft.
Yeah. And if
Yeah.
you're really starting and you really want to give it a go, find a good mentor.
Oh, that's a huge one.
Yeah. Like you can do it on your own from whatever Pinterest posts you've made and you follow along people's TikToks and YouTubes and whatever. But if you have a really good mentor, you'll be more successful quicker. It's a faster road.
So it's easy to say, but how does someone find that mentor? Or what is your advice on that?
Well, it depends on what area you are in, right? Like if you're in network marketing, wouldn't you go for Eric Worre?
Okay.
Because he's like the #1 pro network marketer, right? He's all over the place. So you gotta find your niche and find who stands out in that area and be willing, coachable, and hungry.
And ask.
And then ask.
Yeah.
Sometimes it costs money, but you need to invest in yourself. You're just as important as getting the great POS system.
I see. I think a piece of shit when you say that.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it. Point of sale system.
I knew.
Inventory system. Whatever it is you're doing, right?
Because I used to have a Ford POS, so it's a great model. You know.
I don't know. I've never had a Ford.
Yeah. POS.
Period. I haven't had a Ford. Period.
Yeah, but no, it was. It's really enlightening to have these words come out from you and see that, hey, even though you were nervous and everything beforehand, that once you got here, man, you're just fine. You're good to go. And I like to have that about the guests, is that they come out here and they actually, are you having a good time?
I am having a good time.
That they have a good time and they get some value out of this, because you guys, all the guests, you included, are definitely shooting out tons of value in this content that you're sharing with everybody.
Something I've learned is that I need to hear it too.
The validation?
I need to hear it come out of me. I hear it come out of me and I'm like, oh yeah, Kavai was right.
That sounds good.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I'm hot shit. Yeah.
I mean, God, I'm not hot shit, but you know, I have value.
Right.
I have experience.
Right.
I have proof in the pudding.
Mm-hmm.
I have numbers to show it. And so what I've been doing really does work, and I shouldn't second guess myself.
So you're getting all kinds of validation.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely don't second guess yourself. And I think that's the same kind of value to share with everybody out there, is that, you know, if you're not there and you have that imposter syndrome,
Yeah. make
yourself better and start putting yourself out there vocally on Instagram.
Even if it's messy.
Especially if it's messy, start out messy and clean your stuff up. Like my first early podcast episodes, they were messy. There was one episode where I forgot my laptop and I just had to record the entire episode off of one camera with the microphone on top of the camera.
How'd that work?
It worked.
It's still
Not
up.
great. Right? It's still up. Got a couple hundred views, but
you learned something from it.
Yeah. Pack my laptop.
Ouch. Yeah.
So, you know, it wasn't a failure. It was an experiment.
Yeah. Well, and you know, at this stage of my life, there's a lot of trial and error that has occurred. And if you can like really look at what has happened and what you can adjust and change, you can make your life better, all aspects of it. And I think that when you align yourself with people who are on that same journey, the journey is fun. And so I'm really thankful to have aligned myself with a lot of people who are excited for this chapter in our life. You know, like at age 20, I was like, oh my God, 40 is so old, right? Weren't we all thinking that, oh my God, I can't imagine. And now I'm like close to halfway to 50 almost, right? And I'm reinventing myself again, and it's okay. And I think that some people in this age bracket think, oh, it's done. I'm supposed to have my career. I'm supposed to have this and this, all these ducks in a row. And you're never too old to reinvent if you're willing to do the work. It's not rocket science. You just try. And if it doesn't work, you try something else. Yeah,
because people are living older and older, you know, these days. So especially when it comes to building your success and your wealth, in the first 20 years of your life, you're not doing that. You're growing up. You're going to school. Like, so what if you didn't get there by 25?
A lot of debt on my credit card.
Right. But I mean, just the sheer amount of years in, like if you're 25, okay, so 7 years prior to that, you were in school.
Right.
You were a kid. Like, you're not going to do it in 7 years. Some offshoot people do, those real
I mean, it's totally
outliers.
doable.
Yeah, they're outliers.
Yeah.
Majority of people don't. But even if you're 40, 45, you still have another 20 years to start and get your business moving and get your life together, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot that can be done in the amount of time.
And you're also using all the prior experience that you've learned from the past 40 years of your life.
Right. So why not why not try?
Yeah, like this is the prime time in our lives to do something and make the most of it and take those risks.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree.
100%.
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Any last words for our listeners out here today? Imua.
I know. Come to Kamehameha alumni events.
That's for a class.
That's for a class. No, you know, I could end with a favorite quote.
Go.
From my father.
Okay.
I think I added it to the survey you asked me to fill out.
Yeah.
Don't let the things that matter the most be at the mercy of the things that matter the least. Just means prioritize. And my father always said these little wise tidbits. Another famous one was go dazzle your teacher.
Go dazzle your teacher?
Dazzle your teacher today. So, you know, there was these little tidbits that stuck with me. And that was a good one for me, is to remember that there's so many things that fly at us and so many things that are going on in our lives, whether it's entrepreneurial or family, parenting, divorce, marriage, death, all of it, right? And if we are focused on what's the most important, then life is successful. And there's no regrets.
No regrets.
So I would leave you with that. No
All
regrets.
Kahala, it's been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on Hawaii Real. I'm glad you had a good time.
I feel so honored to have been asked to be here.
Oh, thank you.
I'm serious.
People
Why
say
you
that. I'm like,
laugh?
because people say that. Well, because it's my passion project, and I have that imposter syndrome.
I know. I was going to say, this is your
Right?
imposter syndrome. Instead of just saying,
Totally.
thank you, right? We
Thank
have to
you.
learn to take a compliment.
Yeah. Deep down in my heart, I take it and I file it, and I definitely hold on to all these compliments and stuff. It's just further. I think for me, honestly, it's like further validation that, hey, this podcast is growing and it's doing some good, and it's touching people all over the islands and all over the world. You know, the people that listen to this podcast. There is a lot of great value that comes out of it, and I'm glad I started it.
You've had amazing guests, and you're great at what you're doing.
Thank you.
When I started watching all the podcasts, I was like, oh gosh. Oh,
That's what I signed on
nervous.
for? Oh.
I'm nervous. I'm really nervous. Like, that really happened. I'm like anxiety level was through the roof last night. And I was like, I need to relax.
Yes.
I need to relax. But it's great. It's great to be here.
Thank you. Mahalo.
Oh, that's another imposter syndrome for me. I don't feel that Hawaiian.
No, me neither.
to say stuff like that. Aloha and mahalo.
Hawaiian Airlines.
Yeah, I worked at PCC. Did I tell you this?
No.
As a photo model. When you walk in through the doors,
Oh,
I
you're
take
taking
pictures with the tourists all day long.
Yes.
So a lot of aloha, step right here for your photo. And, you know, the shaka comes up. They take your picture and go, mahalo, you can take a look at your photo tonight at the night show up at blah, blah, blah.
That sounds awesome.
2 years I did that.
Wow. That's kind of cool. I don't think I would ever get hired for that. Yeah,
It's
no.
some severe
I'd probably get hired
cultural
at Disneyland for something.
imposter syndrome right there for me.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, you did it. All right, Kahala. Thank you so much for coming on the show again.
I appreciate it.
All right. And as always, stay happy, Hawaii.